The sound of these creme brulee donuts tells you everything you need to know about this recipe. It's basically everything you want in the perfect dessert. To some more milk, you're going to add instant yeast, sugar, and salt, as well as an egg, and whisk that together until smooth. Then add all-purpose flour and softened butter and combine that together until you have a dough, and let it rise in a warm place until super fluffy like this. While it rises, we'll make our custard, so you're going to combine cornstarch, salt, sugar, and egg yolks until it looks like that, and then we're going to warm up some milk with vanilla extract and vanilla bean and slowly incorporate that in. Then we'll add it back into the heat and let it thicken up just like this, add some butter, and mix that in together, and that's basically it. Now we'll roll out our dough, punch out our hearts, and let them rise for about 30 minutes. After that, we fry the donuts until beautifully golden and fill them with the custard. For the brulee, we're going to cook down some sugar and water to caramelize it, and then dip each donut in that and allow it to cool until hardened. And now all that's left to do is eat your heart out and enjoy.
Telling you, you're going to love these blondies. They're made in one bowl, no mixer required, and just 8 ingredients. You're going to start by whisking together 3/4 cups of melted butter, a cup of light brown sugar, and half a cup of white sugar. Whisk those together until it forms sort of like a paste that pulls away from the sides of the bowl. Next, we're going to add 2 eggs. Scoop that shell out of there. A tablespoon of vanilla extract. Now we just add half a teaspoon of salt and 1 3/4 cups of all-purpose flour. Mix those together, then add in half a cup of chopped dark chocolate, semi-sweet chocolate, or chocolate chips. Next, we're going to pour the batter into a baking pan and add some extra chocolate on top for those gooey puddles. Then bake, slice, and enjoy. These are one of my most popular recipes for a reason, so let me know what you think.
Here's how to make homemade vanilla cupcakes that'll make you go. They start with a combination of butter and oil. The oil is going to keep the cupcakes super moist while the butter gives them a really nice rise. Add in granulated sugar and mix until it turns this pearly white color. This is a signal you've added enough air into your batter. From there, you're going to add in eggs and a ton of vanilla extract. I'm talking like a tablespoon. Beat it all together until when you put your fingertips in the batter, you don't feel any granulated sugar. Then alternate folding in flour and milk in 3 batches, and your batter will look like this. So fluffy. If you're looking to get a sky-high dome top, only line every other muffin liner. This is going to make it so the most amount of heat gets into each cupcake and they rise really high. Bake those babies off and you're going to have a cupcake that looks just like this. But of course they have to be frosted, so we're going to do a classic vanilla buttercream frosting, top it with some sprinkles because duh. And this is the final cupcake. Oh my god, you guys, it is truly the best homemade cupcake I've ever had.
Today we're making homemade croissants, but with the hope of making them a bit easier so you feel more confident baking them if it's your first time. I initially tested a proper croissant recipe for my cookbook, but we decided to remove it from the table of contents because we thought it might seem a little too intimidating for readers. So instead, I've changed up the recipe a bit, I've shortened the length of the recipe, and I tried to make the steps a bit easier to give you guys a beginner-friendly recipe on the blog instead. So here we're kneading together all of our dough ingredients besides our butter, and we're just going to knead together until it comes together, and we're going to let it rest for about 10 minutes. After those 10 minutes is when you're going to add in your 55 grams of high quality cold chopped butter, and we're going to knead for about 10 to 15 minutes until it's a beautiful soft and supple dough. Cover it and let it rest at room temperature for an hour and a half, and then we're going to move it to the fridge and allow it to rest in there for 3 hours. If you noticed, I scored the top of my dough before letting it rest. This helps the dough rise more evenly rather than maintaining a circular shape as it doubles in size. This makes it easier to roll out after chilling in the fridge because it's going to be quite cold. While my dough was resting, I prepared my butter block, roughly 8 by 8, but again, we're trying not to be too headstrong about measurements because I feel like that's when it becomes a bit intimidating. So if it's a little bigger, if it's a little lopsided, it doesn't matter, just around the 8 by 8 mark. Then I set my butter block in the fridge until I was ready to use it, and after those 3 hours of our dough being in the fridge, we rolled it out to about double the size of our butter block, added our butter block in the middle, added both sides or both ends of our dough to meet in the middle as well, and then enclosed our butter block inside of our dough. Now we're going to lightly roll out and beat our dough lengthways, and we want to roll it out to about 18 to 22 inches. Anywhere in between there is fine. We're going to remove any uneven edges, and then we're going to take both ends of our dough and allow them to meet in the middle, and then we're going to fold it into almost a book type shape. So we're going to fold our dough over itself, and then we're going to have 4 layers. So this is what it should look like at this point. Now we're going to cover our dough with saran wrap, and we're going to let it rest in the fridge for 1 hour. 1 hour later, we're going to lightly beat and lightly roll out our dough. We're lightly beating our dough because, of course, our dough and our butter are both cold, so we're going to need a little bit more help rolling it out evenly. And then roughly shape it, and we're going to set it in the fridge overnight to rest. The next morning, we're going to roll out our dough to about 13 by 16 inches. That's what mine came out to. And if at any point you feel like your dough is becoming too soft or your butter is starting to melt, pop it in the fridge for 15 minutes. We want to keep our dough and our butter relatively cold throughout this entire process. So if at any point throughout the entire recipe you feel like it's been sitting at room temperature for too long, pop it in the fridge before you carry on with rolling it out. Then I measured and cut out 4-inch rectangles and then cut each one diagonally down the middle to create our triangles, and then ever so slightly stretched out the tail as well as the top, and cut a little slit to hopefully help with shaping our croissants while rolling it up as well. Once you roll them up, you want to make sure your tail is on the bottom, of course, before you add them to your baking sheet with parchment paper. We're going to add a layer of saran wrap on top very loosely and allow them to proof in the oven for 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours later, we're going to add egg wash and bake at 375 for about 25 to 30 minutes. It really just depends on what color you're going or looking to achieve, whether you want them to be a bit darker or overdone, or if you want them to be a bit lighter, and you're done.
I think scalloped potatoes are just as good at a brunch as they are at dinner, so let's make them for Easter. You want to use a mandolin to get your potatoes sliced as thin as possible and then put them in cold water to keep from browning. To make our sauce, we add some butter, garlic, sprinkle some flour, and slowly pour in some milk. We're going to add fresh thyme along with salt, plenty of freshly cracked pepper, and a little bit of nutmeg. Stir it all together, add in some chicken stock along with some cheddar cheese, and mix it all until nice and creamy. Butter a 9x13 pan and add in your potatoes, only about a third of them, into a single layer. Top with the sauce and then repeat again and again until all your sauce and potato has been used. Top with cheese, cover, and bake. Towards the end, you'll uncover and you'll know it's done when it's golden and brown and the cheese is bubbling. We hope you enjoy this decadent dish.
Today I'm going to be sharing a recipe with you guys that I've been working on for a while, and I've been fixated on making the perfect cinnamon rolls for a very long time, and I feel like I finally accomplished that, so I'm excited to share the recipe with you guys. You're going to begin by mixing together your yeast mixture and letting it rest for 10 minutes, and then in a separate bowl add in all of your ingredients, adding in your yeast mixture in last, and we're going to mix it together until it resembles a rough dough. Take your dough, add it to a lightly floured surface, and we're going to knead it for about 8 to 10 minutes until it's nice and smooth. And then we're going to take our dough, add it to a lightly floured bowl, and we're going to let it rest for an hour and a half to 2 hours or until it's doubled in size. Punch your dough down gently and then add it to a lightly floured surface again. Roll it out to about a ½ an inch thick, and we're going to add our filling. Once there's a nice even layer of your filling, roll it up tightly and then cut with some dental floss to create very uniformed rolls. We're going to let them rest for 30 minutes, and then after those 30 minutes, add about a tablespoon of heavy cream on top of each roll. Bake them at 350 for about 25 to 30 minutes. You don't want to bake them for too long because you still want them to be nice, soft, and gooey in the center. Take them out of the oven, add your frosting, and you're done.
This is a single serve half-baked chocolate chip cookie skillet, and this is my first bite reaction.
Oh, it's really good.
It really is. It's my chocolate chip cookie recipe cut into a quarter. Everything's in small quantities, so it feels like you're healing your inner easy bake oven loving child. To make it, you melt the butter in your skillet, add brown sugars, vanilla, half an egg, and your dry ingredients. I highly recommend using chopped chocolate so it gets really melty. If you don't have a small cast iron, I love mine. This is a 6.5-inch one from Lodge. It was $15. You're gonna bake for 12 to 15 minutes until the edges are slightly brown, and enjoy.
I feel like I cracked the code on the best brownies of all time. Here's how to make them. These brownies actually start with brown butter, which is toasted butter. I mean, come on, how good does that sound? So cook it over low heat until it turns this golden brown color, then add that to a bowl with 3/4 of a cup of cocoa. Doing the cocoa in this way helps to bloom it, so it adds flavor and depth. I learned this trick from Butternut Bakery. I love it. In a separate bowl, combine 3 eggs with 1 3/4 cup of light brown sugar. You're gonna wanna whisk that until it's super fluffy and you can barely feel any sugar granules between your fingers. Add in the chocolate mixture, mix it all together. Oh my God, it's like art. I love it. Is that weird? Anyways, okay. 3/4 cup of flour, some vanilla, which I forgot to add, and some salt. It is just so good. I'm getting distracted. Okay, 1/2 cup of chocolate chips, and then put that into a 350-degree oven for 20 to 25 minutes until it looks like this. And there you go. That's the brownies. If cookies are your love language, here's the recipe for the best brown butter chocolate chip cookies of all time. Start by putting 3/4 of a cup of butter on low heat on the stove. First, it will start to bubble up like this, and eventually it'll turn this beautiful golden brown color. Take it off the heat, then add in 1 cup of brown sugar and 1/4 cup of white sugar. Mix that until just combined, then add in 1 large egg yolk, a whole egg, and a tablespoon of vanilla. This is 3 times as much vanilla as normal, and I promise you it's worth it. Then add in 1 3/4 cups of spoon and level all-purpose flour, 3/4 teaspoon baking soda and 1 teaspoon salt. Mix this until just combined, then add in 2 cups of semi-sweet chocolate chips or 8 ounces of chopped chocolate. From there, scoop your cookie dough into 2-ounce balls, roll them between your hands, and then I like to do this trick where you add a few more pieces of chocolate to the top of each cookie. Then you need to chill these cookies for at least 30 minutes. This really helps them to deepen in flavor and leads to a better texture. Cover them, place them in the fridge, then when you're ready, bake at 350 for 11 to 12 minutes. Always top your cookies with a little sea salt, and that is it. Best chocolate chip cookies you'll ever eat.
I recently tasted the best ube brownies at our local Asian cafe, and when they told me it was white chocolate based, I was shook because I don't even like white chocolate usually. I took it home with me because I had to recreate a gluten-free version of it, and I'm so excited to share this recipe. If you've never heard of it, ube is a Filipino purple yam that tastes amazing in desserts. I used ube extract to give my brownies the most vibrant color and amazing flavor. You can find it at Asian grocery stores or even on Amazon, and you only need 7 ingredients for these brownies, 6 if you don't count salt. I love that you get that slightly crunchy, crackly top. Just look how shiny it is with the most fudgy, chewy center. One bite and I promise you're gonna fall in love because it's seriously divine.
We're sharing the recipe to Mom's viral red velvet cake. We got so many requests to share the exact quantities, so we're sharing them here. Cheese icing on your cooled red velvet cake layers. We promise it's the best red velvet cake you'll ever have. There's a reason Mom has been making it for over 30 years.
I sort of feel like molten chocolate lava cakes are one of those desserts that people think are a lot harder to make than they actually are. From the moment you turn your oven on to preheat to the moment a chocolate lava cake is in your hands will not be more than 20 minutes. There are 5 ingredients: flour, butter, eggs, dark chocolate, and sugar. A lot of times you find recipes that make enough for 4 or 6 or 8 lava cakes, and I just have never had an occasion where I have 6 people to feed lava cakes. So this recipe only makes 2. What I'm doing right now is buttering my ramekins. I have cute little heart-shaped ones, but of course round will do just fine. Now, as a no stickage insurance policy, we're gonna coat the ramekins with either flour or cocoa powder. Okay, now that these have both been dusted with cocoa or flour or what have you, we'll set them aside. To begin the actual batter of the lava cakes, we're gonna melt chocolate and butter together in another bowl. We're gonna get our egg and sugar mixture going. So when my boyfriend and I first started dating, chocolate lava cakes was one of the first things I made to impress him because he loves Domino's lava cakes. He swears by them. He would still eat them even though he's had my fancy homemade ones. Ways to like switch up the flavor of lava cakes. So for example, you can add espresso powder and it sort of makes it a mocha lava cake, and it also is a flavor enhancer of chocolate, so it just makes the chocolate taste chocolatier. If you're making this with your significant other, this is a good step in the process to enlist their help. Now the very last ingredient is 1 solitary tablespoon of all-purpose flour. We are just gonna fill up each of these ramekins to the lip, but not past the lip because these will rise a little bit. These are ready to put in a 450-degree oven for 12 minutes. They come, it smells amazing. Lift it right off, see? Okay, lava cake cross section. I like that these are molten-y and lava-y.